Special second hour of the Really Clubby show on this Puza Thursday edition of the show. We're going to be talking about white feminism. A couple of weeks ago, Rebecca Davis, well-known South African author and journalist, wrote the following on her Facebook page account. Rebecca wrote, "This has been building for some time, but particularly in light of some recent controversies around the phrase of white feminism. I'm really not trying to hashtag not all here. I fully agree that there is a brand of feminism practiced by white women which, in its non-intersectional perspective, race obliviousness or outright racism is offensive, patronizing, destructive, and generally does the cause of feminism no favors. Simultaneously, though," writes Rebecca Davis, "I'm concerned by the tone of some of the discussions I'm seeing. The notion that the greatest threat to women or men of color is white feminism, for instance, which is a headline I've seen expressed in various ways lately. I mean, I just don't think that's true," writes Rebecca. "I think this is expressing it crudely. I know that the enemy of women is patriarchy and not white feminism. And I'm worried that the project of feminism as a whole is being undermined by the casual derision with which it's now possible to dismiss white feminism. Am I just being sensitive because I'm a white feminist? Quite possibly. Tell me what you think." That resulted in a very, very instructive, useful, interesting thread discussion. It also led to a number of thought pieces that were really good across the blogosphere. And so we thought we'd make the circle bigger and have the conversation on radio today. What is feminism for you? Is there such a thing as white feminism? Or should we only be talking about some feminists who happen to be white? And I'd love everyone to call in, put your view over the next hour or so. I will have a bias in favor of women callers, but not exclusively so. But I'm particularly keen to hear women engage in this debate because, quite frankly, as men, we've got a little learn from them when it comes to feminism and intersectional politics. So the lines will be open throughout on 011 883 0702 in Johannesburg and in Cape Town on 021 446 0567. I'm joined by three excellent women in this conversation, and I want to introduce them. After that, you're going to hear very little of my voice other than when we need to take breaks. Firstly, Nelisa Ngqulana, who's a writer, communications manager at Activate as well. Nelisa, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And then I've got Louise Ferreira, journalist, writer, researcher, and just awesome person.
Thanks, Eusebius.
Nelisa, you're awesome too, but we know each other slightly less than I do her. And then, of course, someone whose voice is mercifully more familiar now than it was maybe a couple of years ago in the country because she has so much to offer us. When we're not talking about food or Gandhi, we're talking feminism and all sorts of other things. Dr. Vashna Jagannath. Vashna is an academic and historian at Rhodes University, or the university currently known as Rhodes. Vashna, thanks so much for being available today.
Oh, thank you, Eusebius.
Vashna, I'm going to start with you with the preliminary question, and pardon my ignorance around how basic these questions are, but I want to make sure that as many of us as possible can follow all parts of this conversation. Previously, we had some feminism conversations, and it was a little bit difficult for some of us who are not fluent in the language of feminism to be completely present. And seeing as these issues affect everyone in society, I know that you speak always plainly without loss of nuance. What makes someone a feminist? What is feminism?
Well, I think, one of the basic problems is that there are several forms of feminism. People often think if you just claim to be feminist, that you then have solidarity with a whole range of women who you might not share anything in common with. And I think this is very important, firstly. So there are different types of feminism. For example, there's a movement coming out of Eastern Europe called Femin, who I would not have any solidarity with necessarily with their form of politics and their form of way in which they understand feminism. Now, feminism starts very particularly as a movement, the modern forms of feminism that we have today in Europe towards the second half of the 19th century. Now, what is important to understand is that there were different forms of feminism or sort of fights or struggles for women's rights across the world, across space and time. that predated this moment in Europe. For example, Islam as a religion, when it arises in a very particular set of circumstances that leads to very sort of liberatory notions around women's rights. So, in Islam was the first religion in which women could get divorced. And that was built into the religion. And so Islam has a long history of taking women's rights seriously and creating a more equal society for women within a patriarchal society. Okay? So feminism has been around in various forms for a long time, but the ones that we deal with presently arise very particularly out of the European experience. And the reason why it's so influential is obviously because of imperialism and the role Europe has played globally. So that is what we engage with when we are engaging with feminism. But still, out of this experience, there has been various forms of feminism. And at its heart, the question is around issues of oppression of women within a patriarchal system, which is a global system that encompasses all of our society at the moment.
Okay, let me bring you guys in here. And like I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me there, Vashna. I was saying to my guests who are here in the studio, please ignore me from the peanut gallery. Don't wait for me to ask you questions. Let's have this conversation dynamically, interrupt each other as we go along. So I'm just asking a couple of first prompt questions. My first one for you, Louise, is, okay, so I now get a sense about what feminism is about. I know that there are different kinds of strands from what Vashna is saying. Is there such a thing as white feminism?
I definitely think there is. What we mean when we say white feminism is a particular branch of feminism practiced by white women specifically that is not inclusive. I think in the wider feminist social justice community, we talk about intersectional feminism, which is the idea that all oppressions intersect, that if someone is a black woman, for example, you don't just fight to free her from oppression as a woman separately from oppression as a black person. All those things have to intersect. It's not just one fight. It's a series of fights, and they all have to come together. Now, what we see with white feminism, and I'll say, for example, actress Lena Dunham is, I think, kind of considered the sort of arch white feminist, is, I think it's a feminism that is quite self-absorbed and that focuses only on the experiences of women that this person can identify with. So it ignores issues of race, disability, class, and so on. That's a very the simplest way of explaining it. I do want to add that when I say white feminism, we are not just talking about white women who are feminists. I mean, I'm a white woman, I'm a feminist. I really hope that I am not a white feminist, and if I act in such a way that people will call me out on it.
Okay, let me get it right before I lose it, right? So does that mean, Nelisa, that white feminism is different to a feminist who is white?
No, I get what she said. I get what she says when she tries to explain it. You see, I think maybe I need to explain my position. I'm also not, I don't use these academic terms to define how I struggle or try to navigate my way through these issues. I am a black woman, and that comes with a lot of issues. And I think also given the nature of the work that I do, I also have a trade union background. For me, issues have been issues, and we fight the issue. And I think we often get, in the last couple of days since the post, I've had to read up on all these different things. And I'm just like, I'm caught, now I need to actually make notes about intersectionality, about white feminism. That's not really part of feminism, and it's there and it's over there. And I'm thinking, if we're getting caught in all of these terms and trying to define who's where in the spectrum or not, when are we actually dealing with the issues?
Okay, I like that because it's practical, right? But the horrible thing, I guess, Vashna, about language is that language can exclude people but the issues that some terms refer to may nevertheless be deserving of discussion. So I'm with Nelisa here. We need to use language that doesn't exclude anyone from the conversation. But surely the reality, though, Nelisa, but I want to ask Vashna first and then you can respond. Surely the reality is, Vashna, that even if we have to deal with issues, there's no such thing as just an issue. I can be a privileged gay man and be completely oblivious to the struggles of poor white gay men even. And so, I'm with Nelisa that terms like intersectionality sometimes are used to show, oh, I'm so cool. But the concept that it picks out is surely critically important.
Yes. I mean, I hardly ever use the term intersectional because I think, it has a very particular meaning coming out of the United States. And it has, however, come to mean a variety of things, and people use it in very interesting ways. I just use race, class, and gender when I want to speak about something because I'm very much influenced by someone like Angela Davis. So for me, she already did the work of intersectionality. And I think if I just say race, class, gender, it's much easier for people to understand. It's a lot less alienating. Yes. I also don't even know a lot of the new terms. I mean, what Nelisa is saying, I get invited to speak and the students are like, cis, het, cis, that, misogynoir, and all of this. And I'm like, what are these words? I don't even understand these words. You want me to speak to it? I don't know what you're talking about. So they have to tell me what it means myself. So I'm also definitely not about that. And I think it is very important, this discussion around issues. And I think that's one of the defining lines that separate white feminism. As Louisa has very correctly pointed out, white feminism does not mean white women who are feminists in general. It means a very particular type of feminism. And that usually is not issue-based. And that is one of the defining lines. And in fact, the split comes about in the 1960s and so on, when black women are saying, look, these aren't dealing with the issues on the ground. Someone like Angela Davis, who takes class absolutely seriously, says that this actually vilifies working class people, especially working class men. It doesn't take seriously issues around class, and we need to organize around issues. So I think it's a bit of both, and we have to do both. We have to interrogate the conditions that lead to these divisions within feminism, these divisions within women, if we want to really build solidarity. And at the same time, not do it outside of the issues. The struggle for issues should be the space where we interrogate as well. Those two don't have to be separated from each other. It's within struggle that we actually sharpen our conceptual tools.
Absolutely.
And I think that is really important.
Okay. Thomas, I know you want to take a break, but I don't feel we've got the nub of the issue. Then we'll take a break. And I think Vashna's just got there. And here's a tweet. Many people enjoying the conversation. Zaka says, like your topic. Melanie Judge just says, Vashna. Totally agree. Juanita says, white feminism focuses on issues that only white women have, ignoring the issues black, trans, disabled, or other women have. Now, Lisa, is that maybe a nice, simple, and accurate explanation about the nub of the issue?
I mean, when Louise was explaining it, I totally got it. And I mean, I agree with Vashna, with the thread that she's bringing through there. So yes, I'm covered for now with the terms.
Okay, 10:20. Do call in 011 883 0702 in Johannesburg, in Cape Town 021 446 0567. Remember, it doesn't matter. It's your experiences, it's your body, it's your positionality in the world. I don't care whether you are a feminist scholar in terms of the language. I want to know how you feel about the idea that some people who call themselves allies in the fight for some struggles don't necessarily have, or maybe they do, a sufficient self-awareness of some of their own privileges that come with it. Is that the heart of the debate about white feminism? Or am I missing the point? The lines are open. We're going to take your calls right after this.
Night Talk, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m.
You'll always hear somebody say, when it comes to money matters, it's best to have somebody negotiate on your behalf.
If you think, I've worked for the company for so long, I need to be paid more, those are all the wrong reasons. When you go into a negotiation, you must really have facts about how you think you're contributing and also have an idea of how much you're looking for.
Director at Search Partners International, Mpho Nkezi.
Night Talk with Gooks and Sizwe on 702, your number one news and talk station.
The Blacks-only comedy show, proudly supported by 702, returns to Centre Court at Empress Palace on Saturday, the 24th of September from 8 p.m. The lineup includes some of the funniest names in comedy, including Skumba, Kagiso, KG Mokhadi, Kenny Bono Mulautsi, and many more, with DJ Jaws on the decks and David Cow as MC. The comedians on the bill don't play by the rules, and their humor is brutally honest. Don't miss the biggest comedy show in the country. Book your tickets now at CompuTicket.
On 702, your number one news and talk station.
The Blacks-only comedy show, proudly supported by 702, returns to Centre Court at Empress Palace on Saturday, the 24th of September from 8 p.m. The lineup includes some of the funniest names in comedy, including Skumba, Kagiso, KG Mokhadi, Kenny Bono Mulautsi, and many more, with DJ Jaws on the decks and David Cow as MC. The comedians on the bill don't play by the rules, and their humor is brutally honest. Don't miss the biggest comedy show in the country. Book your tickets now at CompuTicket.com. The Blacks-only comedy show at Empress Palace, proudly supported by 702. Hashtag Blacks-only comedy show.
On 18 September 2016, the Inanda Club will host the Land Rover Africa Cup in Sandton. This enthralling tournament offers the best polo on the African equestrian calendar, featuring top African teams, players, fashion and demonstration of legendary Land Rover capability, as the new Range Rover Evoque convertible flexes its muscle against the best thoroughbred in what has become the iconic horse versus machine showdown. To book your tickets, visit landrover.co.za. Land Rover, above and beyond.
Saving money takes time. In fact, you'll spend 2/3 of your life just working for it, which is why you have to ask yourself, how hard is your money working for you? It could be working as hard as up to 7.35% per annum in a Nedbank 32-day notice account. With this account, you enjoy guaranteed capital. You pay no monthly fees or commissions, and you can access your money with only 32 days notice. Isn't it nice to know that even when you're not, your money will still be working hard for you? See how your money can grow with a 32-day notice account from Nedbank, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This is our country, every inch of it. From where they say Awe Masakant to where they say Nda. From the vastness of our bush to the endless horizons of our beaches. And now we have the opportunity to see every corner of our beautiful home. Because it's our country, and we should go out and experience it. Go to shotleft.coza and let us know what you want when you travel. Add your voice to the call from all South Africans. Hashtag tourism for all. South Africa. Inspire.
883-0702.
Okay, let's go to the lines. We've got Anne in Constantia. Good morning, Anne. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks, Eusebius. I'm actually quite shaken because I'm shocked that these women don't know these names. For instance, Diana Russell, who's originally from South Africa, is professor of sociology. She has done incredible international work around violence against women, setting up written books on femicide, gender violence, because, simply because the woman, male domination. She's worked. Her books have been translated into all languages, just about. She gives talks in third world countries all over the world. She has spoken at United Nations. People like Sheila Jeffries, who's middle class, white, has done the most incredible exposés of international sex trafficking. Her book called The Industrial Vagina is mind-boggling, and it looks at the issues of third world women being trafficked into Western countries and used in prostitution, and basically they die. They simply don't survive, and it's a massive issue. She's white, middle class. Myself, I'm the founder of Rape Crisis, and we worked almost entirely with black women. We were involved in the struggle. It is now 30 years old, Rape Crisis. It has a huge, it has made quite an impact in the Western Cape, Khayelitsha, Athlone, etc. It's almost entirely black women now working in Rape Crisis. They're doing incredible work. They really are. They're changing the law, etc. And Carol Bauer, also the first director of Red Cross, is white, middle class. She works up and down Africa, setting up NGOs around violence against children, talking about, stopping violence against children. We are, all the people that I know, I'm actually shaking. I'm so upset.
But Anne, can I just engage you there quickly? And I want to understand, I genuinely want to understand why you are shaking, because the examples you give to me, if I understand you correctly, are really beautiful, affirming examples of feminists who happen to be white doing brilliant social justice work. Is it possible to affirm, acknowledge, celebrate those women, including yourself, and still recognize that there may be something called ideologically white feminism that speaks to a particular subset of feminists who are white? Is that distinction not meaningful for you?
Yes, you've actually hit the nail. You are quite right. I do understand your point, and I agree with it. And I don't really relate to or associate with that kind of feminism. I'm shaking because I feel that these amazing women who have made really big impact on global impact are not really known about. They are the most important aspects of feminism to me. And the other stuff is just trivial, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested.
Okay. Louise, you like beswaard. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm concerned because I don't quite understand your point, because I absolutely agree that there are many feminists who happen to be white women, as UCB has put it, who have done incredible things, and it is certainly distressing that their names might not be widely known. There are certainly several of those names that I don't know. But that is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the way in which I think popular feminism, especially, and the way well-known white feminists practice a kind of popular feminism that excludes black women more widely. And I think these were certainly the celebrities, people like Lena Dunham, Amy Schumer, Caitlin Moran, have become kind of a sort of the popular face of feminism, and that they are the kind of feminists, or they are shown as examples of feminists aren't just hairy man-hating lesbians. Feminists can also be like that. And I don't think that they should be held up as examples of feminism, because I think their branch of feminism can be damaging. So that is, for me, what we're talking about here more.
Would you agree with that, Vashna?
Yes, I agree with Lisa 100%. I also, the caller started by saying she was surprised we didn't know terms or something, and then went on to discuss. The point of us talking about terms is not that many of us don't know what the terms are. Many of us do. But the fact is that a lot of people don't know those terms. And the reason why they don't know the terms is at the heart of what white feminism often is.
Absolutely.
It's a form of feminism that seeks to create a group of people who think they are more moralistic, educated, and better than other people. And they often seek to do that by making everyone else feel like they don't belong, that they are outside the system, including other women, including black women. And even if you are well-meaning, Louisa put up something about well-meaning white people or something recently.
Yes,
and even if you are well-meaning, and even if you are doing something where you think, oh, I'm doing something good, that is fine. But that doesn't necessarily address the structure of power within a space. And I'm not saying that all white women do this. That is farcical. We continuously as black women, this also actually bleeds into discussions about racism. We constantly have to qualify what we are saying. We constantly have to say, oh, but we don't mean all white people. We mean this sort of white people. Obviously, we don't mean all white women. That would be ridiculous. There are key theorists, someone like Sylvia Federici, who I use, who has been absolutely instrumental in me thinking about oppression globally and in terms of women. So it's not that we obviously want to distance ourselves from white women in general. The point is, and I find it very distressing that every time we want to have a conversation about problems that black women and black men face, we have to continuously worry about the white audience and what they are going to say. And I'm sorry, it gets quite tiring. We're actually having a discussion about the problems we face within feminism all the time. Many of us, many women, stop being feminists. I mean, Alice Walker said we should give up on the project of feminism completely and go into doing something like womanism. I'm not prepared to give up on the project of feminism completely because I think that notion does not belong to a particular sort of white woman. And if they want to exclude me, that's their problem. But I am here for a conversation about the problems within it so we can think through it and think about how to work it out. I'm not interested in people saying, oh, but I'm this, I'm that. Yes, fine, that's great for you. But I'm not going to apologize because how many stories she has, there are million more black women who have worked hard, who have done the work, and who don't get the recognition.
And on that point, actually, Babalwa Nyemezi tweets, and rightly so, and I think, Nelisa, you were making this point about language earlier, actually. Feminism chats, says Babalwa, fascinate me because it's something Engakula nayo ekhaya. We just didn't have igama for it. We were raised by matriarchs and feminists. And of course, Vashna is an academic. She can speak in academic jargon and alienate. The point in this conversation is to recognize that in the public space, it is part of your privilege to alienate by not using different language. Let's quickly check in, guys, the latest in EWN headlines.
Thanks, Eusebius. A very good morning to you. News just in: senior National Prosecuting Authority officials Nomkhombo Jiba and Lawrence Mwebi have been struck off the roll of advocates. The General Counsel of the Bar applied to the High Court in Pretoria to have them struck off the roll following several adverse judicial findings against them. A meeting between Stellenbosch University management and protesting students is currently underway at the institution's J.S. Gericke Library. Students had demanded a meeting with Rector and Vice-Chancellor Wim de Villiers to discuss their grievances. Demonstrators want tuition fees scrapped, but the university says de Villiers is out of town. And 2 people have been arrested for defrauding 3 Western Cape municipalities of millions of rand. The Hawks nabbed the pair earlier this week in the Southern Cape. These stories and much more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traffic remains very slow on the M1 South from Glenove to Empire Road due to roadworks in 4 ways. Traffic lights are still not working at Witkoppen and Monte Cassino Boulevard. We also have faulty traffic lights in Cromerville at Bowling and South, as well as in Dobsonville at Main Reef Road and Elias Motsoaledi. In Cape Town, traffic is very slow on the N1 inbound between Woodstock and FW de Klerk.